Layo here. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Beauty, the real talk on beauty business. Kemi Lewis is a lawyer and the founder of Kale's Natural Beauty Bar, one of Nigeria's most respected natural hair salons, and also runs a government accredited training program that has graduated hundreds of students. Today, she's going to talk to us about how she left the law, how she started running KLs, and how she created a training program that she wishes existed when she started out. Hi, Kemi.
Hi, Layo.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us? I mean, we know, but just tell us in your own words who you are, what you do.
Okay, so my name is Kemi Lewis. I own and run KL's Natural Beauty Bar, which is one of the first natural hair salons in Nigeria. And it was born from my own frustrations when I had returned natural, as they say, and there wasn't anybody who knew what to do with natural hair. And then I realized there were quite a number of people who were in the same boat as I was. It took some sort of deep soul diving, but eventually I discovered that was what I was going to do. I'm a lawyer by training, also a chartered secretary. But I got to a point in my life where I wanted to do something different. So went to a friend who I've known since I was about 11.
Okay.
And she just said, Kemi, you've always known how to do hair. I mean, I used to do hair when I was in Queen's College. And
Oh, you're a cute girl.
yeah, sure am. So she was like, why don't you just start, a natural hair salon? And I was like, oh, okay, that's an idea. And literally that's how it started, so started small in our Dolphin location, 2 styling chairs, 2 staff members. And now we have 3 locations, over 50 staff, our own product line, our training academy, an online training school where I've trained over 1,000 people now across the globe, literally.
Wow.
So
Congrats. That's
you.
big. Okay, so why? I mean, I understand that the business was born from a pain point that you were facing, but then I want to imagine that back then when you started it probably wasn't the easiest thing to do because I don't think natural hair was a thing.
No, we're
then.
talking 2013. It was, there were many different things, I was fighting
That's
against.
13 years ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're going to be 13 in August.
Wow,
yeah.
congrats.
Thank you.
Sounds confetti at this point.
Sounds crazy to say. So, I mean, it was a couple of different things. First of all, my parents thought I'd lost my mind because it was, you want to leave law to become a hairdresser. That was it, So not only was it this leaving law, I mean, I'd worked as a company secretary, which is one of the, highest things you could aspire to be in Nigeria as a lawyer. So I was coming from this background of, success. I'd done my master's, in the University of Dundee up in Scotland. I had all the what would you call it now, qualifications. And it's like, why would you leave that just to become a hairdresser? Because, the thought then was people who did this were people who maybe had some sort of low education background or really didn't know what they were going to do with their life. And then that is why they became hairdressers.
Yeah, hairdressers. Yeah.
Hairdressers. So you had that part. And then, of course, you had friends as well giving well-meaning, advice. Why would you want to keep up, law? And I was like, look, this is what I feel led to do. And so that was the main thing. Then, of course, we started and then it was like getting staff to actually believe in the vision, which is, it is a natural hair salon. Yeah. We're not using relaxers. We're just going to be focusing on growing natural hair, maintaining it and styling it in a way that, is acceptable or that is actually appealing. And I was like, what are you talking about? So those were the hurdles that I had to sort of scale, at the beginning.
So how did you go full time into Kales when you first started, or did you straddle both, doing law or practicing law rather, and then doing it on the side, or was it just like a one-time big bang?
It was pretty much a deep dive. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe the first 3-4 months, I was doing some private practice, for a couple of people here and there. But I said to myself one day, I was like, you know what, if I don't give this thing 100%, then I'm literally going to just be getting crumbs off this. So I made a decision and said, you know what, I'm going to face this, give it my full attention. And that's what I did. Maybe about 3-4 months into starting.
Wow, that's big. That's very brave too.
Yeah. It was, just take the plunge, and that's what I did.
So how did you, with the parents saying, are you okay, with friends, meaning well, but like, are you okay? How did you then block out all that noise to still go forward with, building and then going all in on Kale?
It was, I'd say it was a personal conviction.
Okay.
I spent a good number of weeks, praying and just saying, is this the right thing to do? And I honestly felt led in my spirit that, this is what I was supposed to do. And with that conviction, it was easy to, tell people that, don't worry. I know you're worried about me, but I'll be fine. I'll be fine. So that was what I had to keep saying. But I had to rely on that conviction that, this is what I'm supposed to do, because I knew what I knew, my spirits that everybody else couldn't see, because I could see that there was a huge need for this, but people, it just didn't exist. So I knew there was something there, but other people couldn't see it. I could see it. So it was just to wait for them to catch up with the vision, essentially. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what was the natural hair care scene in Lagos then, or in Nigeria, like back in 2013?
Pretty much non-existent. So I remember, there was this what would I call it now? It was called Naturals in the City.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to have like quarterly meetups.
That's cute.
I know, right? It was run by Natural Nigerian. If you know, Natural Nigerian is a brand, and she likes to be called Natural Nigerian. So she used to have this, I think there were quarterly meetings where, you'd have all the naturalistas, where we'd all gather and, we'd just talk about our, frustrations and pain points. So it was blossoming, that the community was growing, but there weren't any specific places that you could actually go to and say, I'm in safe hands, you know what you're doing, so please take care of my hair. So, I saw that, and yeah, it was a no-brainer.
So how did you get your first, or what was it like or the path to getting like your first 100 clients?
Okay, so first 100 clients, it started off with friends, of course. Then, but more importantly, just before I started or just before I opened, what I would do is I'd get my hair done. I'd have flyers to hand. I would go to Ibano supermarket, or I'd go to the Palms, and I'd just be walking around. If I saw anybody with natural hair, like, oh, we're about to open a natural hair salon, please come. This is
Just you, or did you have it?
Just me.
Oh wow.
Oh, just me. So I made sure I was a walking advertisement for what it was I was about to start. Even after we started. So I would still do that, go about, get my hair done. I'd have nothing to buy, but I'll just walk around the supermarkets, walk around the mall. Oh, I love your hair. Oh yes, this is what we so literally that was what it was that, I was doing. And then of course, word of mouth. So our business has grown significantly from referrals and word of mouth. And, that was how it was from the beginning. And that's how it literally has continued over the years. So that pretty much is
nice. And then would you say your background in law helped you as you were building Kales, or was it not?
Oh, it
relevant?
did.
Okay.
It definitely did. My background in law, my background working in a structured, corporate, atmosphere, that helped me because I didn't want it to be just another salon. I mean, I was a young adult. Of course, I'd been going to salons for many years, so I knew what's really, what you would experience in salons traditionally. But I didn't want that to be what I was going to do. I wanted to do it differently. I wanted it to have more meaning, more depth to it in terms of what we were offering, in terms of the way I even ran it, in terms of the way the staff would relate with clients. So my background, in law, in terms of reading, in terms of being prepared, in terms of structure, all of that came to play for sure. So it definitely wasn't a waste.
Okay. And what were the early days like? So what was maybe one hard thing about building Kales in the early days?
Hmm. The first thing I've said this, I've said this story in a couple of forums. The first was, I think one of the first two staff that I had hired, a guy, and he just didn't believe in my vision. He thought he thought I just didn't know what I was talking about. Of course, he had the
Was he a
experience.
hairstylist?
He was a hairstylist,
Okay.
and he was referred by, I can't remember now. So he came working, I had two people. I had him and had a young girl. And he was like, what do you mean natural hair? Why can't we do weaves? Why can't we relax? And I tried keeping, I kept on trying to explain to him, and he was just falling, on deaf ears. So he used to do this thing that used to aggravate aggravates me. It'd be, I mean, in the first few months, of course, it would be quiet. You know, we didn't have that many clients. So when, you know, we'd have like a low period, he'll go outside, stand by the wall or stand against the wall of the salon with one foot against the wall, tapping the other one like, we don't have client. I'm very dramatic, you know. And you know, his body. He wouldn't say anything, but his body language. It was so clear what he was trying to say. Like, I don't know what this woman is about. We could be doing so many other things and having clients, but here we are just waiting for non-existent people. You know, he didn't last 3-4 weeks. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because
Yeah.
like you don't need that kind of person on your
No,
team.
I didn't need that energy. That was one. And then the second thing I think was when we started to grow. Now, this was my first business, you know, so I wanted to do, and I was so particular about everything. You know, I wanted it to look a right way, you know, look a certain way, you know, sound, feel a certain way. So I was doing everything by myself. Again, you know, bootstrapped. I was bootstrapped. That was how we started. So I was doing everything and everything. And then as the word got out, and we started to get really busy, things started to fall through the cracks because answering the phone, I'm going to the markets to buy supplies, I'm training the staff. Yes, I'm training the staff. I'm also doing hair because of course I like to do hair. I'm doing hair. So things, you know, I'm missing some appointments here, or I'm missing some instructions about what they want me to do. So yeah, and then at some point I had to say, okay, I need help. I need to know what it is I need to do here. And then that's when I got my first business coach, and I knew well enough to say, you know what, I can't do this by myself. I need somebody who can, you know, hold my hand and help me. So I got her, and one thing she told me then, which has lived with me till now, is, Kemi, you need to start working on the business and not in the business all the time. So that was my shift. And that was when things now really started to change. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I know that a lot of founders always go through that moment where you're the one that's doing everything, and then it's always a struggle when to decide when to let go of your Legos and which Legos to
You should
let
let
go
go of.
of. Because
Yeah.
if you let go of something too quickly, it can be catastrophic. If you don't let go of the right one, it can also be
Catastrophic.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like a toss up trying to figure out you know, which one two, and then how to hire the right person and delegate. It's a whole song and okay, so you had mentioned that you couldn't find stylists who knew how to work with natural hair. How did you solve that problem initially?
So for me, it was training. I would hire. So what I did was I created sort of a little system, then just very short and sweet. And I would say, okay, I'd hire people who were already stylists. You could do basic things like weave hair and braid. But you will come on, then I would take you through a training period where we're showing you how to actually handle natural hair, because handling, I mean, up until then they were used to relaxed hair. So you know, they had to make that change in their head as to how to handle natural hair. So it was, okay, so this is how you handle natural hair. These are the products you have to use. This is how you apply the products. This is how you wash. This is how you comb natural hair. This, you know, this is how you section natural hair. So just put them through that. So that literally was what, you know, I did that, and I still do now anyway. Although now we have somebody who handles all of that.
Yeah.
So because it was the only way that made sense to me. Because if I kept saying I wanted it wasn't going to happen. To say I wanted somebody who was skilled with natural hair, how many were you going to find?
Yeah.
So find people who are already doing, you know, working in that environment, and then train them exactly to what it is that you want. So that's what I did.
I want to touch on something really quickly. So, you know, you were saying earlier that obviously, you know, the first couple of weeks it was kind of slow naturally. How did you decide to still keep going? Because I feel like a lot of people, when they, okay, yes, I have a dream, I have a vision, have a vision, and then they execute on it, but then it's not panning out the way that they expect it to. In the first couple of months, a lot of people actually do give up, which, I mean, we can sit here and talk about how it's bad or good or whatever, but like a lot of people give up in the first few months. How did you not give up? How did you persevere? How did you say, nah, I'm going to keep going?
Again, I'll go back to the conviction that I had. So that was my personal convictions, and that's what kept me going. Also, I hate to fail at stuff. So, and you know, I was like, and in addition to that, a bit of a personal, what will I call it now?
Trait?
No, not trait. I had just recently been separated.
So
I was like, I am not going to fail at something again.
it was a lot of drive.
It was, yeah. So this was for me, I was channeling all of my energy. I was channeling all of my attention, my focus, my dreams, my desires, my every letdown. I was just putting everything into it. So it had to work.
It had no choice but to
It
work
had
out.
no choice
Yeah.
but to work. So literally that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was what I just needed something to give me some sort of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to work at it. It wasn't going to come easy. It wasn't going to come overnight. I recognized that, and I was ready to put in the work, and I did.
I really like that. So you literally put everything that
I
you
did.
had inside of it, and
120%.
again,
Yeah.
it had no choice but to work out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I had absolutely no choice but to work out. So.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to like hiring people and trying to upskill, when did you realize that, or what made you realize that beauty schools are not preparing people for, I guess, the real world, like for working in a beauty environment or salon?
So the first question was how many beauty schools even existed in the first place. Maybe about a year or two into running KLs, I decided that, you know what, I need to get a proper qualification. And at that point in time, I mean, before then I'd gone, I would do short courses online, or in America, I'd gone for Talia Wajid, course and just different things. But and I said, you know what, I want to get a proper certification. And at that time, it was really Updo Benson Beauty Training Institute. So actually, I went to Updo Benson. I got my diploma there in hairdressing. But again, because I realized that the focus again was just relaxed hair. So it's relaxed hair, braiding, fixing weave on. So it was just literally that. And of course, then you have cosmetology where they're doing nails and skincare and all of that. But it's still all of natural hair as it presents itself. That wasn't a main thing. So for me, I was like, this is something that people really need to bring into a curriculum somewhere. And in addition to that, of course, at this point in time, other natural hair salons were now beginning to open, and I was getting a few requests then. Oh, Kemi, could you help us? Because then what I used to do a lot was natural hair updos, so I got the Monica Queen of Natural Hair Updos. So what I started to do was, I'd have like small training sessions where, for like 1 week, I'm training stylists from different salons on how to create the beautiful natural hair updos. And then it was now like how to handle hair. So I just realized that, hang on a second, clearly this is, a major thing, because I'm getting more and more requests from people to help them train their staff on how to handle hair, on how to style hair in certain ways. So that's when I realized it. I said, you know what, instead of just creating or hiring a room somewhere and just saying, okay, so for the next 1 week, come and then we'll do this, why not actually create a proper classroom or proper academy where we can actually have people come in, we'll have a curriculum and then we take you through. So that's where that sort of started from.
Okay. So how did you build a reputation in a market where standards and quality vary so like widely? How did you do that?
In the salon?
Yeah, salon, and also like even with like your training programs, because I hear of some training programs where it's just like
okay, so in the salon, again, I guess this is my background coming to play and just putting myself in the shoes of a customer, so to say. So if I'm a customer and I come into a salon, how do I want to be, approached? How do I want to be spoken to? How do I want to be attended to? How do I want a consultation to go? How do I want my hair to be handled? How do I want them to even what's the word now? Talk to me about products. If they want to, sell me something, do I want them to sound very salesy?
Yeah.
Don't want it to be a recommendation. So putting myself in the shoes of a customer, that for me was the first thing. And then just saying, you know what, we need to have proper standards. Because remember from the beginning, I had said, I don't want to run this, the same way every other salon, is being, that I have gone to in the past anyway, was being run. I wanted to have particular standards. And then another thing that I used to do as well is talk to my clients. Till tomorrow, I talk to them. I have somebody who calls clients the day after they've come in, just to follow up. How was your service? So that if there's anything that we're not doing, if there's anything that they feel like could have been done better, immediately we pick it up. Because you do have some clients who they'll come in, something happens, they won't say a word, and they'll just disappear. And you won't hear from them again. So, to stop that from happening, let's be a bit more proactive and just say, okay, so how did it go? Did anything happen? Could we do this better? And that constantly, helps us to tweak, our standards, to tweak, the way we do things, just to ensure that, we remain customer focused and customer centric in the way we are offering our services. So
I really like that. And then what was the point or the moment when you realized that, Kale is actually a thing? Like, I've done it.
Oh my God, the thing. I didn't know. I get asked that question.
Please don't say it's not a thing yet. I'm still doing it.
Oh no.
Okay.
I won't say that. I think it would be remiss of me if I did say that. I've just had several moments where I'm like, oh my goodness. One of the first ones being when I could travel and not have to think about what was going on, because Chaos was running. I didn't have to be there. So I was like, oh my God, yes. I have built, trust me, it's a huge one. When somebody, you're not calling me every 2 minutes. Yeah, Auntie, this is happening. Yeah. So it's a huge one for me.
Yeah.
Another one was where I got a Forbes Africa interview.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was like, oh my God, really? You mean what I'm doing actually makes sense? For them to recognize me like that, so a few things like that, or where I can think I walked into one of the locations and I saw faces, people working, I don't know their names, but I'm just like, okay. So, there's just little things like that happen, and you're like, okay, this is actually something that I have built, and, it's now outside of me. It operates whether I'm there or not. So that's very heartwarming and fulfilling.
I love that for you.
Thank
I love
you.
that for you. So walk me through what it took to build Kale's, academy. Is that what it's called?
Kale's Natural Academy.
Okay, yeah. So walk me through what it took to build that. How did you even start?
Again, so how did we start? It started off again with the initial, within the first year of people saying, oh, come and help, come and train us.
How many years into business was that? Did that?
Maybe 1 year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. And I discovered something about myself. I like teaching. Apparently, that was something I never in a million years would I have realized that. But in training other people, I realized, I actually enjoy doing this. So creating different training programs, and taking it around. I've trained not just in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, in Warri. I've worked with Design Essentials, who's taking me to Kenya. I've worked in the UK. I've been invited to teach in the US. So all of these things, I was like, oh, wow. Okay, so people actually want to hear what it is that I'm saying. Yeah. So having done all of that, I said, okay, you know what? Another thing is, because right now, again, with the beauty schools, you can't really go to one school and say, before now, because I'm not, I think OBBTI has shut down. Okay. Yeah. So again, it was like, what are we going to do to, try and fill that gap? Now, it was, will I say, a little bit selfish in in the sense that for me, it was starting off by creating something that would bring out natural hairstylists. Because for me, I just think
a pipeline for talent.
Do you understand? In that particular, that niche within the industry, and that's what I wanted to do. And then I said, okay, then you have people coming to me and they want to learn how to color. They want to learn how to color. They want to learn not just how to handle natural hair, but they want to learn how to do, braid or whatever. Then you have I then had a new segment of people approaching me. These were now salon owners, business owners. how do we run a business so that, it actually makes sense, so that we know how much we're making? How do we, hire staff? How do we train staff? How do we retain staff? How do we, create the systems within the business? And I was like, oh, okay, so this is another thing. So with each request that I got, that sort of gave me an insight into what it was that people really needed. And then that I said, what, we need to create this. And that's really how, the academy started. I mean, I still do it online, for those who don't, can't come and who are, live abroad and all of that. But, I wanted somewhere where you could come in, get, whether you were somebody who already had the skill and you just wanted to get maybe like a 3-month, whatever it was, to be able to know how to do certain things, or even if it's just, 1 month, whatever it is. And that's what led, to creating, the academy. And then I approached the Federal Ministry of Education and labor and productivity, I beg your pardon. And they came in, had initially we didn't have the space, and they were like, "Oh, you need to get proper space." And eventually we did get proper space, and then we then got that letter. So what that meant was, you could come in, get your training, write your exams, and then you get a certificate that you can use, around the world if you decide to move.
So I like that you did that, but I'm curious, why was it important for you to get government accredited?
It's just who I am.
I mean, gosh, the lawyer.
I know, right? So for me, it would give that extra level of exactly, authentication. So I just needed to do that. So yeah.
Okay. And what's the difference between your curriculum and other traditional like beauty schools, for example?
Again, so the focus is, so I like to start with the science of hair, because I realize a lot of, when you go, to quite a number of, although now, you do have some people who, will touch on that, but the science of hair, because I find that a lot of, a lot of stylists have come through Kales, whether it's to work with us or people that have come for training. And I realize most of the people who work as stylists, it was a skill, an inborn thing that they had, and they knew how to weave hair, knew how to braid hair, and then they just started to work, in a salon. But when it came to the actual technical aspects of it, so understanding hair, why hair does, what it does, why does it react in this way, but it wouldn't react in this other way. They just didn't have that knowledge. So for me, that science aspect, had to be included. So for me, that's one of the things I think that sets us apart. And again, I don't do, the only chemical thing that we will train on is color. We don't do relaxers. That's me. That's my thing.
That's
So
fine.
yeah. So yeah.
And what's the biggest mistake that, in your opinion, you see beauty schools make that you are like, nah, we're not going to do that?
So the thing is, again, I'm not. Have I compared myself to any beauty school? Not really, because there isn't. I don't see the ones where I could say they're doing this and we're not. We aren't doing this. I just like to focus and say, okay, so this is our goal, this is our vision, and then we're just going to, go ahead with it. I definitely won't be the one who would say, come for this training, and then we're not doing it, or we just give you the barest minimum of what it is that you've requested for. If you do something, the questions that come up and we think there's something extra that we need to teach, I will always go that extra mile and definitely give that to you. So yeah.
And how long is the training program for?
So we have different ones. You have there's a 1-month program, there's a 3-month program, there's a 6-month program. Again, it all depends on what it is. Whether you just want to brush up on your skill, you want to learn something new like color. Color is not something you learn in 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month. It's quite extensive, So again, it'll just depend. So we have something for everyone, depending on what it is that they need. Yeah.
And how do you balance training people to work for others versus people who are being trained to, I guess, work for themselves or open up their own business? Is there a difference with how you train them?
So for those who want to open up a business for themselves, I try to, how do I put this now? Help them do a mental shift, because I find that a lot of times it's the idea is, I want to own, a beauty business or a salon, but there hasn't been a lot of thoughts into what goes on,
The
in the
different layers.
oh, and there's so many layers, it's just to help give them that, illuminating, like, do you know what you're about to get into kind of thing. So, and for that's why I always recommend for people like that to do the Building a Profitable Beauty Business course, which is one that I, one of my signature courses. So it actually helps you understand, because what always happens when people take that course is that they're like, oh my God, I never thought of this. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize. So it's, they have several eureka moments and they're like, and I'm like, yeah.
Okay, and
Exactly.
then so you've trained like hundreds of students, right? Would you say the ones that you've trained are like they leave the academy job ready, like like skilled?
Oh yeah, I mean, most of, if not all of the people that have come through already have some sort of skill, right? So they really just come to get that extra natural hair, focused skill. So definitely, I know they leave and they are, they're like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I didn't know. I did I did a training a few weeks ago, I think it was, and I was doing the blow dry technique, and they were in awe, and I'm just like, yeah, I know. But, oh my God, I've never seen that happen before. I'm like, yes.
That's why you're here.
That's why you're here. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, awesome. And then so you run both Kale's Natural Beauty Bar and also run the academy. How is it like? Because those are two different businesses. How do you find the time? How do you balance it? Are they competing, for your attention? Yeah, just how do you balance that?
So
Not the
I know. So with the academy, what I've done is I've gotten a head instructor.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I'm learning to let go.
The Legos.
I am learning to let go. So I do have a head instructor at the academy. So I probably will only come in for certain things. I won't be there, for everything. There's somebody else that will do that. For the salons, I have, each location has a branch manager. Then I have a general manager who oversees everything and then reports to me. Again, so that I don't have to be tied.
Structure.
Shackled, yeah, structure. Huge, makes such a huge difference. And then, that way I just do like a complete oversight. If I have to step in here and there, I will do that. But yeah, so that really is how I balance things.
Okay. If you could go back to talk to yourself right before you started Kales, what would you tell yourself?
Delegate. Delegate
Okay.
early on. Delegate, and don't be so afraid. I was so afraid of so many things. And sometimes, and that fear kind of limits you in some of the things that you believe you can do, and
What
you
are you
miss
afraid of?
opportunity. I don't know. Sometimes, okay, so perfect example. Dolphin, when we first started, it was a small, cute shop. I was like, let's start small. So if you make mistakes, we make them on a small scale and all of that. And within 1 year, I think, the space next door became available and I was offered it. But I was like, no.
I don't need it yet.
Yeah, what if, all the what ifs, what if, what if, what if? And somebody else took it, a bar of something, a bar with the restaurant took it. And shortly after they took it, it became very clear that I should have taken it, because we were now bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we sort of came, full circle again, because the space then became available and
Maybe it wasn't time then.
possibly,
Yeah.
but this time around I jumped on. There was no hesitation. I jumped on it. So yes, that was the sort of thing. So I just felt like, I was just so afraid of what could happen and what's doomed. I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes you're just thinking of all the doom and gloom. Oh, this could happen. This could go wrong. That could go wrong. Instead of looking at the,
What if everything
what
works
if
out?
everything works out?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's been the most rewarding part of running the academy? What makes it worth it?
Ooh, seeing people who go on to open up their own businesses, or seeing people who already have their businesses, and they make decisions that now favor them completely. Just changes their trajectory in terms of finances, in terms of structure, in terms of just elevating their business and just freeing time for themselves. And of course, also seeing stylists who are so excited about what they have learned, and they're going with a new skill. I always tell my particularly my staff, I'm like, because I'm so big on training, I ensure that there's continuous training even in the salons. And I always tell them that, look, I don't expect you're going to work here for the rest of your life. And when you're leaving, I'm not going to open up your head and extract knowledge that I have given you. So it's yours. It's yours for life. And I know you can do even better, as you go along. So for me, it's just that knowledge that, they're being empowered to become better, to do better, and just to aspire for more, as they grow.
I really like that. Okay, and then what's next for Kales and the Academy? Where are you going? What are we doing?
What are we doing? That's a question I've been asking myself. So for Kales, because we have a line of products. We've had a line of products for a few years now, but I've been doing it on a really small scale. It's called Groom and Grow.
Okay, I feel like
yeah.
I've seen a bottle somewhere.
Yes, I'm sure you have.
I think I've seen a bottle somewhere.
Loving care for your natural hair. That's the byline. And
Oh, that's cute.
I know. Thank you. So we've been doing that for a couple of years, and just as I said, on a small scale, on a really small scale. I always like to start on a small scale.
No, it makes sense. Start small and then you
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's been growing and growing. So I think for me, what I will be focusing on, now is really the product side of things, because it's getting to the point where I have people who are asking for it, not just within Lagos, not just our own clients, but people outside of the country, outside of Lagos. So I'm like, okay, so let's do that. For the Academy, I definitely want to continue to build that up, but I don't think it's something I will be there 100%. It'll just be how it is for me now, which is I'll come in, I'll do a color class, I'll do a business, training class. But as I have somebody who's heading that, that will be something that they.
How did you hire that person?
How? Oh, funny story. She was one of my instructors at the Oprah Benson Beauty Training Institute. Yes.
That's such a cool story. So she trained you, and then now you've hired her to run your
training academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know. I love it. Okay, and then last question. So you're one of the pioneers of natural hair care. Is that correct? Natural hair care in Lagos. And you built a amazing standard with that. What would you want your legacy to be?
Ooh. I think what I want my legacy to be is how I help change the perception of natural hair. Yeah, with the brand that I built.
Okay. So digging into that, I know I said that was the last question, but so when you look at, this is a two-part question. What were some of the misconceptions about natural hair and even like running a beauty business when you started versus now?
So misconceptions or myths. First was natural hair is ugly. Yeah, you still have people who say, it's not for me.
It's not neat.
It's not, it's not neat. It's not for me. It's not professional. You can't style your natural hair for your wedding. So it was, just
that was actually a thing.
Yeah, it was a thing, and just a lot of negativity that was attached to it. I remember my mom. Well, my mom. I remember going when I returned natural, and she had said she'd seen me one time with my afro. She's like, "What is this kunta kinte you have on your your hair?" And I went, "It's my hair." She went natural shortly after, but yeah. So that was it. It was always something to make fun of. It was always something to just make all the slight digs at. And I just thought, but it is your hair, it's growing out of your head. But so I'm really, and that is one of the reasons why I used to do the natural hair updos, because it was, for me, it was showcasing natural hair in a completely different light, to say, oh my God, you can actually mold it into so many different shapes and it looks absolutely stunning. You can wear it to events, you can wear it to work, you can wear it for your wedding, and that, so we've had hundreds of natural hair brides over the years, and that for me is such an amazing thing, so definitely in terms of that perception. So now it's more accepted. Is it completely accepted? No, you still have some people, even some organizations, who would frown apparently against you wearing your natural hair to certain events or whatever. Then in terms of ownership of a beauty business, yes. So I think the maybe well, let's say the misconception back then was, if you own a beauty, first of all, if you owned a beauty, if you were a stylist, you had to have, you're coming from some sort of what would I call it now, a background that was sort of lacking in certain things, and you weren't able, this was the best you could aspire for, in your, because that was always, like you're a hairdresser, it was like something to nini, and I'm like, you don't even realize the power, and the potentially the amount of money you're even able to make, as a stylist, as a salon, owner, if only you get it right. Because it's one thing to make money, it's another thing to actually have good, healthy profit margins, and that's so that's one of the things that I always talk about. So, it's always, that looking down on, people in that industry back then. But now I think it's a whole lot more respectable. You have so many people who are in the business who are doing fantastically for themselves, who are running businesses that have standards, have proper structure, and are being called, across the world to do amazing things. So I think it speaks for itself that, it's not something to laugh at or, to look down upon, but it's something to be like, wow, okay, so yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for today's episode of Beyond Beauty, the real talk on beauty business. Hearing Kemi's story, can I call him Kemi? It's Kemi.
Kemi, this is right.
Hearing Miss Kemi's story was very inspiring. Knowing when to go all in on an idea that you have, knowing when to delegate, knowing when to ask for help, knowing that it's time to then, I guess, branch into a different vertical, right? Whether it's having a training school, building your own product line. Miss Kemi's story shows resilience and perseverance. And I want to say to anybody that's watching out there that has an idea, that is thinking about starting something, I think just start, even if it's small, just start. What's the worst that can happen? Right? So yeah, that's it for today's episode. Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on Instagram down there, and anywhere that you listen to this podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Also share and make any comments. Let us know how this episode was for you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.